Low carb diets are all the craze right now. Whether it's just reducing your carbs or going on a full-on ketogenic diet, everyone thinks carbs are the devil and make you fat. But is a low carb diet really better than low fat for weight loss? It can be, but not necessarily. So let's talk about when it is and why. Okay, so there's one scenario where I can definitively say low carb will absolutely lead to more weight loss, and that's whenever you start a diet. If you go low carb, even on the same amount of calories, you will lose more weight at first, and that's because when you eat carbs, your body breaks that down into glucose. That glucose is then shuttled into your muscles and your liver in the storage form called glycogen. Every gram of glycogen is also accompanied by 3 grams of water. So if you significantly reduce your carbs, you'll see a big drop on the scale because of a reduction in water weight, but scale weight loss and fat loss are not the same thing. So there's a big thing not a lot of people understand. I want to make sure you understand this before we move forward. If you eat a lower carb, higher fat diet, yes, you will burn more fat, but it's because you're predominantly eating fat. So while you burn more fat, you also store more fat. If you were to eat a higher carb diet, you will burn less fat, but you will also store less fat. And the thing with carbs is it's your body's preferred energy source. So especially if you're training hard, doing lots of activity, especially if you're trying to build muscle, carbs are protein sparing, and it's gonna fuel that performance. And while I'm not saying you can't go on a low carb diet, we'll get to that in a little bit. The thing is, the fitness industry as a whole just loves to oversimplify things and just say, just make this one change, or this is the one and only way. You're typically being sold something. And hell, I sell something too. It's online coaching. But the thing is, I don't trap anyone into a certain eating pattern. I've had clients who prefer more carbs and they get that. I have clients who prefer more fat. I've had keto clients. I've had carnivore clients. I've had people who do intermittent fasting. I have people who strength train. I have people who don't strength train. I have all kinds of different people because everyone's different and you got to make sure the process is sustainable. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to make sure you understand you can absolutely lose fat while eating carbs. In fact, just take myself for instance. When I got the leanest I've ever been, I was coached by my good friend Paul Reveille. You probably know who he is. Well, when we started my cut, I was eating on average 310 grams of carbs per day. By the time we got to the end of the cut, it had certainly reduced. Metabolic adaptation is a thing. You're gonna have to eat less over time. But even at that point, I was still eating on average 200 grams of carbs per day. I had high and low days, so I was eating around 160 grams on my low days, 250 grams on my high days, but the average was 200. And the thing is, there's so many people that would think 200 grams of carbs is high carb, and you can't lose fat if you eat that much carbs. That was the lowest amount I ate the entire time, and I got down below 10% body fat. So if carbs stop you from being able to lose body fat, how the hell did I do that? And I think where a lot of this comes from is if you think about like, okay, high carb foods, what do a lot of people think about? Think about pizza and ice cream and donuts and pastries. And it's like the thing with all these things is if you really look at the nutritional value of them, a lot of times they have just as many calories from fat, if not more, than they do from carbs. Remember, 1 gram of carbs has 4 calories, 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. And we think about what people really love, it's not usually high fat things, high carb things. It's usually a combination of higher fat along with sugar. And yes, there can be benefits like hunger. For instance, a lot of people who like the keto diet like it because it helps them feel full. And if you eat a higher fat diet, it helps you feel full. You can keep your calories down, puts you into a better calorie deficit, and therefore you lose weight. But that's also why not all carbs are created equal. Carbs that are typically higher in fiber are more filling, your fruits and vegetables and things like that. And definitely sugar is not very filling. It's very easy to overeat. But honestly, that has to be the most overblown thing in all of the fitness industry as a whole is things like insulin. Insulin gets such a bad rap, but the thing is, insulin alone doesn't just stop you from losing weight. If you're in a calorie deficit, that is gonna trump the insulin response. Insulin will cause that glucose to shuttle into your muscles and liver, but if you're in a calorie deficit, that's always gonna be replenishing. It's when you're in a calorie surplus that it's gonna shuttle things into fat. And I know this topic is a tough one. People get so crazy about this, but just keep an open mind here because research doesn't really even support what most people seem to think. For instance, if insulin was the cause of fat gain, then why was there this study where they equated calories and protein? They gave one group 300 grams of carbs and the other group 30 grams of carbs. The insulin response of the low carb group was 44% less. But guess what? There was no differences in fat loss. Well, if insulin was the cause and nothing else, wouldn't there have been a big difference? There wasn't. Sugar is easy to overeat. I'm not saying that it's the best thing you should have and you should just go out and eat lots of sugar. I'm just saying sugar and carbs alone don't keep you from losing body fat. And basically, anytime there's ever been any research that's looked at low carb versus low fat and they've equated calories and protein, there's never been any difference. And here's the thing, it probably sounds like I'm bagging on low carb, and I'm definitely not. It can be a viable strategy, but I just don't want you to feel like you have to eat low carb, because that's the big thing. If you love carbs, it's like your favorite types of foods, and you just feel like there's just no way I can do this long term, well then what use does it do to go on a low carb diet for a short period of time to lose some weight, eventually snap, binge on it, gain all the weight back, and just keep yo-yo dieting over and over, getting bigger and bigger your whole life? That's not doing anyone any good. So sustainability of your diet is key, because you have to be able to do this stuff long term. It's just kind of crazy to me, like when we go through the history of time, we always try all these different things, and it used to be low fat. And here's my prediction for you. I'm guessing in the next, we'll say 15 to 20 years, we're gonna be back on it again. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's a good thing that you can do either approach, because it gives you choices based on your own personal preferences. Anyway, I wanted to circle back to the junk food thing, because a lot of people feel like you just have to avoid all foods you love. Pizza and ice cream and donuts are all just off limits. Can't have them ever. Not only is that not true, but I actually make the argument you'll see better results if you include some of these foods in your diet. And yes, I'm being 100% serious. In fact, I feel like including things like ice cream was instrumental for me to be able to finally lose weight and keep myself in good shape for the last decade. And how can this possibly be, you ask? Well, check out this video next, and I'll cover exactly why this is and show you how you can start eating the foods you love and get the results you want. And I'll see you in that other video.